Thank you very much. I think let's get into the conversation. It's clear you've all had your experiences. Bwana Eric, I'm going to start with you. So what's driving the desire of taking the organization to achieve a zero trust model?
Good question. Check. Good question. I'll start from this perspective. So the business, that is the entire organization and all the facets of the business, are growing very fast. And the vendors have done a very fantastic job of telling them that we have cloud. And with cloud, you can switch it on and tomorrow we are getting business value. And it's not wrong, right? So let me tell you a story. I remember when I joined the organization almost 9-10 years ago, there was this drive to go to cloud and to go to SaaS platforms. And it was being driven from the leadership, but it was yet to be received fully. And then all of a sudden, if you remember in 2019, 2020, 2021, the one thing that changed in the entire world was the pandemic, correct? So we found ourselves in a position where we're being asked as technology or as even security, can you support us as quickly as possible? And then we looked around and so now we need to allow our staff to work from home. That was a very difficult time for us because we didn't have, first of all, the mindset that this can actually happen. To us, the organization was perimeter-based from a physical perspective first, and then from a technology perspective. But the business said, no, we need guys to work. The pandemic demanded it as well, and therefore we needed to move that way. But then once you do that, what immediately happens is that your perimeter becomes non-existent, quote unquote. The thing that you really relied on and you're always updating your firewalls every single time becomes non-existent. And therefore then zero trust comes in to say that, okay, now guys are working from anywhere, everywhere. That's the mindset now to bring into play and just trying to assist ourselves to drive that business side of things. So that was the first thing, that the business was moving or is moving faster than us. So we need to catch up. How do we catch up? This concept, this mindset helps us to tell them confidently, you can go to hybrid cloud confidently. Why? Because we have adopted this mindset and we are deploying capabilities that will support you confidently grow the business. Obviously, then the second thing was around what has been happening in this region. I believe all of us can lay testament to what has happened in the last 2-3 years that has not happened in our careers in 15 years or so. We have faced attacks that we are reading in magazines and newspapers and thinking that that does not apply to this region. So this concept is what is really driving the need for zero trust.
Great. I want to latch on a couple of things that you have talked about. I think we have all known and heard that a major driver of digital transformation was COVID, right? When all of a sudden the bulk of your workforce had to work away from the office. But I was saying, I want you to build on that, talking about your experience, your organization experience as far as operating from the cloud, providing this capability in, bringing in the conversation of trust, whether you're using zero trust or whatever else. Take us a little bit through that journey of what has been like for you.
Thank you. Interesting question. And yes, I think all of us have had different journeys. And the pinnacle of it, or really the utmost importance here, is how do you secure yourself? And I think, as my colleague Eric mentioned, is after the pandemic, everything changed. What happened is security became the top thing, but were we ready for it? I think the answer at that time was no. Are we prepared for it now? Better prepared? The answer would be yes. Are we fully ready to get into another pandemic, God forbid? My answer would still be yes and no. We are still not yet there where we need to be. As financial institutions, we do have a lot of restrictions when it comes to. We are very happy to be in office and work. We have this issue of people working from home. I think we'll all agree. It's a mindset change that needs to happen. Similarly, if you look at zero trust, what zero trust really is, it's not something, as Eric earlier alluded to, that you switched on a switch and you say we are zero trust. It's actually a mindset change. How do we all change that? How do we change the skill? Coming to the question that you asked is, as DTB, yes, we have adopted cloud. We are multi-cloud that we are working with multiple clouds, it is not as straightforward when it comes to implementing zero trust. It's easy to implement zero trust when you're within the perimeter. You can create your tiers, you can have your EDRs, you can do everything, and you're sorted. When it comes to cloud, it is different. It is dynamic. You have to adopt to the different frameworks that these cloud providers have. How are you then be able to be dynamic enough to be able to stay within the risk, be able to mitigate it, and be able to give the service that is required? Coming back to DTB, we've had an impact. We are working across the region. I think one key thing that is there is our regulators at different levels of experience, at different levels of maturity in terms of how they're allowing the financial institutions to go. In Kenya, I would say we are a bit ahead in terms of Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda within the region that we operate within. They are allowing and they are a bit flexible when it comes to setting up cloud environments. It's not so the same in the other countries. So when it comes to setting up cloud, we now need to start thinking it in a different way. How do we set it up so that you have your data on-prem, making sure that you've taken care of the data, you've taken care of the zero trust element around each and every aspect of it. So it's something that has evolved us in terms of thinking. We've set up units that were initially not there. So our landscape when it comes to digital IT has changed. When it comes to cybersecurity, our entire unit has changed in terms of we have cloud security unit, something that we would never ever thought of before. To say that within the cybersecurity standpoint, you are going to have a team that is only going to be dedicated looking at cloud. And remember, when you're looking at cloud, it is multi-cloud. It is not, one system and you've put in rules, you've put in a SIEM, you're looking at multi. How do you then harmonize all that? How do you then bring it down into a SIEM that can then be able to give your SOC analyst the required view, to give your red teamers, to give your purple teamers the required view that is there? Not forgetting that you have to make sure business is running, because anything goes wrong, it's very easy to say it's your security that has brought down the business. So putting all that into account, it's been a steep journey. It's been a difficult one with its own pitfalls and everything. But what I would confidently say, it is not impossible. That's something that we can achieve. And the reason that I say that is my parting shot is going to be if companies like Netflix, which give us globally, have adopted zero trust and they've done it really well, why can't we? Similarly, if you look at Google, which is the Beyond Cope organization of theirs, they've actually implemented zero trust at each and every layer. So we should pick that as an inspiration, and it is something that we should work towards, not only as organizations, but as a technology industry. Thank you.
I think that's a very interesting comment. I don't know if you guys caught that. That zero trust is beyond the technology, but a shift in mindset. Because that's interesting. You're no longer going to blame it on the technology. It's whether or not you appreciate what you're trying to do with it. Anthony, you and I have interacted both in the battlefield as well as other places. But you are at a very unique position in that you need to advise different clients on different aspects on technology, on growing the business. What are your conversations around zero trust?
All right, Joe. Thank you. It's always refreshing when you actually hear from practitioners, Eric and Hussein, in terms of people who've actually walked the journey and they understand where the shoe actually pinches the most. But in my experience, one of the things that, and they've actually captured it also very well, that this is a mindset. It's a culture change. And one of the biggest wins that you can ever have in any culture transition is stakeholder management and alignment. That your key stakeholders understand, what are we trying to achieve? What are the different components to achieve it? And what support do they need to actually give you to achieve this as well? And I've been able actually to see both extremes. I've seen on one extreme organizations that are very, very scared to start the journey because perhaps the environment is very intense. If you touch anything and anything goes wrong, that any system is down, someone is going to go home. How many belong to such an organization? And they're there, right? And the reality is, of course, business has to always go on. And then you have the other extreme where they go full hard on, let's get this thing up and running. And then all of a sudden, services are not accessible. Security has actually been implemented extremely well to an extent that no one can even access the systems that's supposed to access, right? And that becomes a problem because we always talk about this triad between security, usability, and is it functionality? The third one, right? So, but then there's now the balance between how you can actually get a good hold of the same, but also managing each and every issue that actually may come. And that is why when we talk about stakeholder alignment, you need executive support. And as technology practitioners and leaders in the room, allow me to say this with humility. I don't think we've done a very good job in terms of communicating what we are doing to the actual business stakeholders. Again, these are the guys who sign the checks, right? So if we lose them, then they are just going to say this is an IT thing that's happening. Then we leave them behind. And lo and behold, something goes wrong. Guess who they're going to come for? Who again? Exactly. So we really need to make sure stakeholders are actually on board. And then, of course, having the end in mind. And Joe, to your question, I know you're also a consultant. If, for instance, we are going to industrial area, there are very many routes that can actually get us there, right? But the outcome is actually what we need to emphasize. Why are we doing this? And if we do not paint the picture of where we are trying to get, regardless of the journey that we're going to take, then the value will not really be realized. And that's where we talk about return of security investment. Again, it's an expensive affair. It is not cheap, even actually, just to build some of these things. But then, if we demonstrate that there's going to be value and we're able to quantify what that value looks like, then buy-in and navigating the journey then becomes easier. Which brings me now to the other point, which is extremely important. Now, it's putting the nuts and bolts together. My experience, and again, the gentleman can keep me honest here, especially in this new dispensation where you need to secure everything and everywhere. You see, the whole idea of zero trust is, we are not going to implicitly trust everything, but we're going to verify. Because even your attacks can actually come from the most unlikely sources, which are going to be internal. You'd find even the most secured devices or secured assets can actually get compromised.
Yep.
But it's to reduce that layer or rather surface area of attack so that damage and impact is at the very minimum possible. So with that understanding, then understanding where your assets and your critical assets also sit becomes important. Again, I've experienced instances where you have very good technology in, the team is focused on making sure this thing works. But when you ask them, where are your critical assets? Why are you doing this? What is the ultimate goal? It's a bit vague. So that journey, but understanding clearly what you're trying to protect, where it sits, and how you're going to manage all the key stakeholders that ideally those assets would pretty much would affect them directly or indirectly, so that as you're working on this, again, this idea of experiment fast, fail cheap, but move on and fail forward becomes extremely important. Because if you ask Hussein and if you ask Ngei, and everyone else in this room that has actually embarked on this journey, things will eventually, at some point, not go very smoothly. But when you're able to learn quickly and really refine it at the cheapest level of failure, then your journey then becomes guaranteed. Now with AI, and I know there are many solution providers that actually have extremely good tools that do this, it actually now brings us to how then can we add a different layer to this so that now we are able actually to achieve the efficiencies that Joe, you excellently put in your presentation, so that this journey is also efficient in a way.
So, short question, short answer to you, Alex. Is zero trust achievable? Whether it's on the cloud, whether it's in-house, can you do it?
Yeah, yes and no. I'll start with the yes. So basically, when you look at most cloud solutions or the journey to the cloud, if you look at from a cyber perspective, and I'm sure some of my peers here can agree, when most tech sides were moving to cloud, cybersecurity were not prepared. Most can attest to that because it was a quick journey. The advent of COVID, digital transformation is there. You're mid-in within the year. So zero trust now was born of certain things like those ones and third-party risks. Remember the SolarWinds incident, which was very heavy, came about bringing how do we view lateral movement and such attacks. So In the cloud, it's very achievable. There are very, very many ways you can be able to do this. Starting on the key tenants, you have those key pillars, your devices, how are they connecting to the cloud? How are guys authenticating to your cloud? How are your developers authenticating to this cloud? How are your workloads protected? So all these mechanisms Zero Trust can offer. Are you able to classify your data? Are you protecting your data? Are you meeting the key regulatory requirements? Most requirements right now, like for example, PCI DSS is drawing new requirements born of Zero Trust. So it means this is very achievable. It's just a journey, as my colleagues have said. You just have to take it in a phased approach because there's always the cost elements and everything within it.
Okay. You heard it. It is achievable. Bon Eric, is it a must do?
Very good question. Is it a must do? I don't think there's anything in this world that is a must. But if you don't
Death and
do
taxes.
if you don't do it, you shall reap the benefits thereof or otherwise. I think you have to consider it. The other models are now broken, so to speak. Zero Trust offers you a future. So just look into it, adopt it. It will help you. It will help your business. I think if it supports your business, then it's a must do.
Anthony, do you think it's a must do? And if yes, how do you plot your way there?
So I do believe it's. Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, thanks. I do believe, like Eric has mentioned, I don't think anything is a must do. No one is having a gun on your head. But the other thing you need to understand is if all these other models have failed, then it's eventual and it's actually very intuitive that you need to rethink your entire security architecture. Again, coming from perimeter security, the thing is flaws. It has its own issues and all that. I met a team of a few guys who are in the hacking space, and we've done a few things with them, and they can tell you nowadays it's very easy actually to compromise, especially perimeter security, right? But then those added layers give you a guarantee of extra layer of security. Is it fail-proof 100%? Absolutely not. But again, it's going to reduce your attack surface and then, of course, make it extremely hard for some of these actors to get in. So it's the right direction, something you need to think about. And if you're not very clear, you see, when you have a map and you can confidently go to industrial area because you've actually put Google Map, your destination there, right? So it's going to take you through the different routes in Nairobi. But what's going to help you get there faster is a guided route. So there are roadmaps, there are frameworks, and there are people who can actually help you that have done this before, and you can leverage that experience advantage that they may give.
Mr. Hussein, I wanted to respond to the same thing, but slightly different. I interpret Zero Trust as one of the access management frameworks, right? On access strategies around your organization. So does this mean if we're going Zero Trust, all the others now we consider them to be legacy? Are they on their way out? And this is what we are doing into the future. This is what we should be preparing.
Thanks, Joe. I think the answer is no. They are legacy and Zero Trust needs to come on top. Why do I say this? Most of us as organizations, especially from the financial fraternity, we have a hybrid setup. We still have systems, we still have data centers that are physical on-prem. We then are leveraging on the cloud. So one key and most important thing that needs to be considered whenever you are doing this entire journey is how do you secure your on-prem as well as your cloud? One common mistake that has been happening, and this is something that we've learned over the years, is replicating your admin accounts that are on-prem to the cloud. Just know you're compromising yourself and you're setting yourself to be attacked. So that's just an example in terms of how you need to look at Zero Trust. If you look at the legacy framework, so for example, if you look at the perimeter, it is required. Remember, most of our organizations, our core banking and everything is on-prem. So you need to make sure that how do you secure it? We still are using access We are using RBAC that is required for some applications. Remember, we do all have applications that are still legacy. They are not ready to take in the new type of access control frameworks and everything. The other side of it is knowing that how good our bad partners do work, and they always get a way to come in through. So in some areas or other surfaces, you need to have both the legacy frameworks as well as layering on top with the zero trust. So it just gives you more resilience, it gives you more visibility, and it actually gives you it actually makes your attack surface less vulnerable.
Yep.
And the last thing that I'm going to say is, as we will move into zero trust, I think it's important for everybody to understand that it is not that you will not be attacked, it is when you will be attacked, and how prepared are you for it, and how less of your surface is going to get affected. Thank you.
Alex, I'll give you the chance to give us completely the last item before we are kicked off stage. So please close us out.
Okay, I believe just as a conclusion, zero trust is one of the key foundations or one of the key requirements for cybersecurity within the cloud. So just similar to what my colleagues have said, I think it's something that is evolving. You'll see new requirements coming as the years go. So you need to keep yourself up to speed. Basically, you'll see new regulations coming, new vendors coming to the market. Everyone needs to comply to that. So basically, as you move to cloud, leveraging all those controls, you need to see a way of ensuring that you're zero trust compliant, given that there's also the digital maturity journey, which most organizations are going through. So zero trust is one of the things that ups your digital maturity journey.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time and your expertise. This brings us to the end of our session. Thank you all for your attention. Back to you, MC.